Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today in this tutorial, we are going to learn how we can create this SpaceX Rocket Encyclopedia app by using React.js, and this tutorial will be beginners friendly, so we will learn basic fundamentals of React and some key concepts of it. So let's see what we can do with this app. So as you can see, all the SpaceX rockets are listed over here, and if we click on any rocket, then we can see more information about that particular rocket. We can see images of that rocket in a slider and some other informations of it, and if we want to learn more about it on Wikipedia, then we can just simply click on this button and the Wikipedia page of that rocket will be opened. And along with it, we can do some filtering. We can select height of the rocket. So if we select more than 100 feet, then we can see those rockets which are matching this criteria, right? And if we select more than 300 feet, then we are seeing only one rocket, and we can see the details of it. And we can do similar kind of things over here. And if we select more than 400, then we can see there is no rocket matching this criteria. And if we clear out the filter, then we can see all the rockets are present, and these data are coming from an API which is provided by SpaceX. So we are going to learn how to fetch data from an API and display it in our React.js app. So this is what we are going to build today. This video is brought to you by Hostinger. Hostinger is a one-stop solution for all your web hosting related needs. Here you will find web hosting for small to large scale projects, as they have shared web hosting, WordPress hosting, VPS hostings to offer. So you will find services which will meet your requirement perfectly. Also, they are providing free domain and SSL certificate with their web hosting. And the best part is that they are providing huge discounts on the pricing of these services in this holiday season. And if you buy any services of them from the link given below and use this coupon code, you will get another discount up to 7% on top of their sale. And also, as you can see over here, they are providing 24/7 chat support. If you face any kind of difficulty, then you can get help from their professionals. And also, if you are not satisfied with their services, then you can get a refund within 30 days. So that is also another good thing to have. So you are not losing any money by trying out their services. So this is one of the best web hosting providers out there. And you can click on this globe icon to select your country and buy the service with your local currency. So check out Hostinger by the link given in the description below. Now let's discuss few things about React.js. Before learning React to create an app, we need to know about React, what React actually is and why we are using it. What problem does it solve? We need to know about these things. Then only we will learn it in a better way. Otherwise it will just be a rat race. As everyone is learning it, we have to follow it. But there's a reason behind it, why it is being followed and why it is being used. So let's have a look at who's using React. Here are few big names who are using React on their platform. First is the Facebook. Facebook is the creator of React. Facebook created React and publicly released it in the year of 2013, and then they have implemented it on Instagram as well. And now we can see that Twitter, Airbnb, Netflix, Khan Academy, Udemy, all these internet giants are using React. And Flipkart, which is Amazon equivalent for India, they are also using React for their own platform. So as we can see that all of these names are pretty big and their business is running on their platform, and these companies are relying on React. So there must be few things which React is doing right. So let's have a look at those things which React got right. And with that, we are coming to this point, why React? So first, it lets you create complex UI in simple way. As we have seen previously, many big internet companies are using React. They have complex user interface on their website, and React lets you create those complex UI in simple way. And it is pretty easy to maintain all these complex UI while created those things by using React. Next point is fast render with virtual DOM. DOM is document object model. Whatever we are seeing on a browser, that is DOM, and whenever we are interacting with a website, that time this DOM changes. To manipulate this DOM, previously we have to use vanilla JavaScript or jQuery, and by using those it becomes difficult to implement every functionality to a complex UI, and as the interaction grows, the rendering of the manipulation of DOM becomes laggy, so it becomes pretty heavy job to manipulate DOM when we have multiple interaction on a single page. And React solved this problem by introducing virtual DOM. React create this virtual DOM to compare it with actual DOM. Whenever we are changing anything based upon our user interaction, that time React comparing these changes with virtual DOM, and it changes the virtual DOM, and after changing the virtual DOM, React compares virtual DOM with actual DOM and looking for the exact area which is reacting to these changes. Then React gracefully painting that particular area in actual DOM, so it becomes pretty easy to manipulate DOM by using React. By using React, we don't have to do heavy task to manipulate actual DOM, and this provides fast rendering. And with this fast rendering, performance of our system increases. As you can see, if the rendering is getting slower by each interaction, then obviously the performance of it would be not good enough to provide a better user experience. If React provides faster rendering, then the performance is also getting better. Then the next point is easy to debug. As you can see, Facebook, Twitter, Netflix, all of these sites have many different sections on a single page, and users can interact with each sections of it. And if any interaction goes wrong, then it is pretty easy to debug the problem if it is built with React, because React lets you create those complex user interface with simple, small, self-contained components. If we can deconstruct a website layout, then we can see there are several small pieces present. There is header, sidebar, footer, menu area. So in React we can create those small pieces separately, and then we can put all those things together to make a complete website. As these blocks are smaller compared to the complete web interface, and all these smaller blocks are self-contained, so they will have their own interaction logic, they will have their own stylings which will not interrupt other blocks. By this way, it will become pretty easy to debug any kind of problem which we will face in a complex user interface. Then the last point is React Native. React Native is a solution provided by React by which we can create native mobile app for both iOS and Android. So if you are a web designer or developer and have a good knowledge on JavaScript, then you can learn React to use React Native to build native mobile app for Android and iOS. By using React Native, you will not create any hybrid app, but React Native lets you create native app for those platforms, and to use React Native you have to learn React. So it is another plus point of React. By learning React, you are not only just becoming a better UI developer for the web, but also you are getting closer to become a mobile app developer. So that is also a big reason to learn React. Now after all of these points, let's discuss what is React. So in a simple term, React is a front-end JavaScript library for building user interfaces or UI components. So React is a front-end JavaScript library. It is built upon JavaScript and it works on front-end only, and it helps you build user interfaces. This is a simple definition of React. Now let's look into the definition of it, which is provided in its official documentation. React is a declarative, efficient, and flexible JavaScript library for building user interfaces. It lets you compose complex UI from small and isolated pieces of code called components. So here we have seen few terms. One is declarative, another one is component. For the components, we can see that it is small isolated pieces of code which we can also call as UI components, as we have mentioned in our simpler definition, right? And previously previously I have mentioned smaller blocks to create complex UI, and those smaller blocks are called components. So small pieces of any complex UI is called component, and it is also a self-contained isolated piece of code as well. And then we have this declarative. React is a declarative, efficient and flexible JavaScript library. So previously we have seen how it is being efficient and flexible. It is flexible because we have smaller pieces to look into. So if we want to change any design of a particular section, then we can do it pretty easily, as the UI is distributed in smaller self-contained code blocks, right? So it becomes pretty easy to update anything on our UI. Now let's look into this declarative. So what is declarative? It means we never interact with DOM. The UI is updated when we change the state. So we know what DOM is, and here we can see that UI is getting updated when we are changing the state. State means a particular moment of the interaction of an user. So that means when you are visiting facebook.com, first time you are seeing the login page. After a successful login, you are seeing the news feed, profile image, friend list, all of these things. So when you are logged in, that time the state changed, and whenever you are click on any post, whenever you are clicking on any button, that time the state is changing according to your interaction to the website. So this makes it easier to design user interface and debug them. You can just change the program state and see how the UI will look at that particular time. So here's the sample code of a React component. Here you can see in this return block we have some HTML looking code, but these are not HTML, these are called JSX, which is another key concept of React, which we will discuss in our next slide. Right now let's consider this thing as HTML. Here we can see we have message state, and in our message we have hello React, and we are displaying that message in h1 tag. And after this h1 tag we have a button, and for that button click we are changing the message. We are updating the state to hello world. So when we visit our app first time, that time it will display hello React message, and whenever we click on that change message button, that time by clicking on that button we are changing the state to hello world. So whenever the state changes, automatically the text of this h1 tag will change, and by this way we are not interacting with DOM. We are not telling the DOM to take this h1 component and change the text to it. It just automatically happens. React takes care of it. So that is where virtual DOM is working, and this is the declarative approach. And in this declarative approach we are not directly interacting with DOM. We are just updating the state, and by updating the state, React is automatically reacting to that state and changes the DOM. So we don't have to do the complex manipulation of the DOM, and by this our app performance increases. It renders DOM much faster and other benefits as well, which we have seen previously. Now the final slide, key concept of React. So first is the state management. So we have seen that React is reacting to the state changes. So we have to learn about the states, and we need to know how we can update it. Then we have component, and we have learned that component is a smaller block of codes which lets you create larger UI components or a complete complex UI. Then we have JSX. As I have mentioned earlier, that within that return block we are seeing div h1 button tag, but those tags are not the HTML tags. They looks like HTML, but they are not. Those tags are presented in JavaScript. They are called JSX, and there are some basic differences between JSX and HTML, which we will discuss later when we will actually create that app. The next one is prop. So we can pass prop to every component. What does that mean? Prop means some data, some attribute which we can pass through each component. By getting this data, the component will display it, or it can decide if it needs to be changed. And again we will discuss it further while we will create the app. And next we have life cycle methods. So life cycle methods is a advanced concept of React which I will not go much more into it in this tutorial, but let me discuss some basic things of it. Life cycle methods are those methods by which we can instruct a component to do many things throughout its life cycle. And what its life cycle is, its life cycle started when the component is being rendered. It is not rendered, that means it is not visible yet, but it is being rendered. That time we can provide any kind of functionalities to our app before rendering that particular component, and then we can do something after component is being presented. So when the component is visually presented on the screen, after being presented, we can do some manipulation to it, and when it's getting destroyed, when it's getting disappeared, that time also we can do some task. So these are different kinds of life cycles of a component, and we can do different kind of tasks within this life cycles of a component by using life cycle methods. So it is a advanced topic. I will discuss it in detail in another video. So let's create the React app. Now we are at the official website of React.js. Here we need to click on this get started, and after this getting started we need to click on this create a new React app. After loading the page we can scroll down, and here we can see the instruction to create a new React app, and before creating it we need to install Node. So from here we can install Node.js to our machine. We need to click on this button. Whatever the version name is available currently, you need to look into this LTS. If it is LTS, then it is good for you, and this is the recommended one for most users. So you need to click on this button to download Node.js to your machine, and after downloading you need to install it. After installing it, you can check it whether it is installed or not. So for that you need to open terminal for Mac OS, and for Windows you need to open the command prompt, and over there you can type this command to see the Node version. So here I can see I have this version present on my machine, and for npm, which is Node package manager, you need to also check for that, and while you will install this one, along with it you will get this npm as well. So for npm version we are seeing that we have this 6.14.8. so we have both Node and npm installed on our machine, and here we can see that it requires Node version greater than 8.10 and npm version greater than 5.6, which is correct for our machine. And then we can use this command to create a new React app. So copy this one and paste it your terminal, and before pasting it we need to select the directory in which we want to create our React app. So here I want to create our React app within this directory. On my desktop I have tutorials directory, and within this directory I have this React directory, and within this directory I want to create my new React app. So for that, first we need to provide this cd command, and then I can just drag it to provide the path of it. Now hit enter. Now we are at this React directory. Now we can paste that command npx create React app, then our app name. So I will not use my app, I will use SpaceX React app. So this is the name of our app. Now hit enter. Now after few moments our React app has been created successfully. Here we can see that it has downloaded all the necessary files and folders required to run the React app, and now here we can see that we have some commands to run it. So first I will go to our React app directory, and within it I will open our VS Code editor. So here we have opened our project within VS Code. Now within VS Code I will open the terminal, and here I will run the project by using this npm start command, and from now on I will use this VS Code integrated terminal. I will not use this one, so I can close this, and now after this npm start I can hit enter to run the app. So now we can see that our app is running within this localhost 3000 port. And now within our project we can start customizing it, and to customize it we can go to this src directory, and over here we can create new component, new file, and we can update. And within this public directory we will have this main html, and within this html we can see this div id root, and this is the main div. Within this div we are creating all these ui. If we go to this index.js, then we can see that we are injecting our React app to this root div. We are getting this div by get element by id, and we have this root id present over here, right? And within this we are getting this app component, and this app component is coming from this app.js file, which is this one. And over here we can see that we have imported logo and app css. For this app.js we have app css, which is containing the css required for this component only, and whatever we want to create we need to do it within this src directory. And if we want to update our fab icon, which is this icon, or want to include any third-party css library such as font awesome, so we can do those things. Font awesome or any google font, those things we can include over here within the head tag of our html. Now let's edit few things over here. Now after this anchor tag I'm creating a button, and after adding this button we can see that our button has been added automatically. We don't need to refresh the page, right? So it has been automatically refreshed. So like this we can see our changes in real time. Now here first I want to show you a little demo, and for that first let me change this component to class based component. So it will be class app extends component, and component we can import from react, and we don't need to import react as we are using react version 17.0.1. with react version 17 we don't need to import react. Previously we need to import react in each component, but with the latest version we don't have to do it. And here we need to provide a render, and within this render we can provide this return block. Now save it, and after saving it we can see that nothing changes, which is right. Now here we can introduce state, and for that within this construct we can provide state, and we have created this message state, and here I will provide hello react, and I want to display it within this p tag. So here I will display this message. Now save it. We can see that hello react message is present. Now by clicking on this button I want to change this state as we have seen previously in our slide. So for on click we want to set state, and we want to set message as hello world. Now save it, and after saving it let's click on this button. Now after clicking on this button we can see that it is showing hello world and hello having a typo. Now save it. Now let's see hello react. Click on this button, then it has been changed. So by changing the state, React is changing the DOM efficiently. We don't need to do DOM manipulation over here, right? We are just changing the state. Otherwise, we are not doing anything. We are just displaying the state over here, and React is managing all the DOM manipulation. So now I think it becomes pretty clear to you how easy it is to work with React. So now let's create the app with SpaceX API. And for that, we need to go to a SpaceX API GitHub directory. And here we can see the documentation of it, and we will go to v4 doc, which is the latest one. And here we can see all the APIs are listed over here, right? And we will work with this rockets API. So click on get all rockets. So here we can see the URL of it, and if we go back and run this in Postman, then we will open it in Postman. and I have already opened it. So here we can see this rockets collection and we can see get all rockets, and here is the URL. This is a get request, and by this API request we are getting this response, and here we can see the response of a rocket where we can see the height, diameter, mass, all of the information of a rocket is present. And one rocket is completed over here and then another rocket is started, right? So like this we have many rockets present, and here we can see images of rocket, and this one is Flickr images link, right? Now if we close it, so if we use this collapse feature, then we can see that we have 4 rockets present, right? And for each rocket we are getting those informations, and we want to display list of rockets when user visits the app first time. So we want to fetch this data initially when our app loads first time, and for that we need to fetch all those API data before rendering any of this layout. And for that we have lifecycle methods. As I have mentioned earlier that we have lifecycle method for that time as well when our app or our component is not rendered yet but it's getting rendered, and for that we have this component did mount. So that means our component has been mounted but it's not rendered yet. So before rendering any component we can use this lifecycle method to perform any kind of task like this one in which we want to fetch API data. So for that we will use fetch, and within this fetch we will use this URL. So copy this URL and paste it here, and I will provide this SpaceX API link in the description below. From that you can check this out. And after that we can use then, and within this we are getting the response of it. And let me just do a console log of this response. Now save it. Now after saving it, let's check it over here. Inspect element and open this console, and here we can see a response. So here we can see the response status code is 200, which is correct. Here we can see status code 200 means it's okay. So we are getting the response but we are not seeing the data which we require. To see the data we need to change this response to JSON format, and we will not output it in our console. Rather we will create another then. After fetching the response and convert it to JSON, we will get response and we can output it in our console. Now save it. Now let's see. Now here we can see an array has been returned with 4 items in it, and for each item we can see that we have all these data present which we have seen in our API response, right? So now we can use this information to display in our app. So first I am going to display rocket name. And you may be wondering that why I have changed this function component to class based component. Because of this state, we cannot use state in function component. We can use state on class based component, and also we can use lifecycle methods in class based component. In functional component we can use it by using React hooks, which is another advanced concept of React which we are not covering in this tutorial. If you want me to create detailed tutorial on React hooks, then let me know in the comment section below. Now let's start implementing it. First I am going to get rid all of these things, and we are not going to use this message state. Instead of it we are going to use a state called rockets, and it will be an empty array, and we are going to assign these rockets to our state. So we have assigned our response to this rocket state, which is this one, this array. This response array we are assigning to our state, and after that we can use it to display rocket information over here. To display each rocket we can use this map method, and within this map method we will get each item by rocket. And over here within this h1 tag I want to display rocket.name, which is this one. Now save it. Now after saving it, here we can see that we have each rocket name present, and we are seeing some warning as well that each child in a list should have a unique key. And that is because we are rendering a list dynamically by using this map method, and for each list we need to provide a key, and that key should be unique, and we can get unique key by every rocket ID. If we look into it, then we can see that each rocket has an ID assigned to it, and that ID is unique, so we can pass this ID for each key. Now let's refresh this once, and now we can see that we are not seeing any warning like we had previously. Now we see that compiled with warning that logo is defined but never used. Yeah, we are not using logo, so we don't need to import it. And with that, let me clear few things from here. We don't need this test, so we can get rid of this test along with this logo and this file as well. And then for app css, we can get rid of all of this css code. These css codes are not necessary. Now we can see that it's showing as it was before. Now we can start creating the layout which we want. So we want to display card layout over here instead of this h1 tags, and for that we can use get bootstrap, and here I will use previous version 4.5, and I am going to use CSS and JavaScript file links of this to our project. And this is not the perfect way to use Bootstrap with React. To include Bootstrap with React app, we have a package called React Bootstrap, but for simplicity I am not using that package in this tutorial. I am using Bootstrap by these CDN links. So I have copied this link and I will use this one over here. So after this link I can paste it, and then I can copy this scripts bundle and use it here. And by adding these things in our index.html, we need to refresh it once, and then if we see the source of it, then we can see that it has been linked successfully, and now we can use the card layout of it. So we can copy this and paste it here. Now copy this key and get rid of this h1, and here we can see some JSX error, and this is where the difference between JSX and HTML is. We have copied HTML, but it's showing some error, and it's showing that we are having some error in image tag, and for image tag we need to use this one to get rid of this error. And other than that, we need to use class name instead of class. Class is a reserved keyword for JavaScript, so that's why we cannot use class with HTML elements. Instead we need to use class name like this. And as we can see, we have class reserved for classes, right? So that's why we cannot use it. For card title, we can display rocket name. Now let's check it over here. We are seeing the card has been rendered successfully with our information, right? So now let's create this layout properly. So we can use Bootstrap classes over here. So I'm going to use container. So by using container, we can see that it's creating a shape. Now after this container, I'm going to create another div for row, and we will close that row after this. And for this card, I'm going to use this class name. Now save it. Now let's see, it's getting the shape which we wanted. Now we want to display those images over here, and for that let's see how we are getting the image response. So here we can see flickered images, and after that we can see few image link has been present. So for this one we can see 2 image link has been present. For this one we can see that we have more than 2 images present, and for this one also we are seeing we have more than 2. So we are seeing that we have at least 2 images present for this flicker images. So we can use this one, rocket flicker images, and this flicker image has array of image URL. We can provide the index value of the array. I'm going to provide 1. Now save it. Now after saving it, we can see that our images are present over here. Now here I want to change it to view mode, and now I want to use some styling over here. So for card image we are providing this 300 pixel height, and for card we are providing this margin. Now after saving it, it has been updated. Now let's add a background to our body, and for that within this index.js we have this body, and within this body I will add this code, this background color and this linear gradient. Now save it. After saving it, we can see that a gradient background color has been added. Now let's move this class to a new class. So we need to close this one and then save it. Now it's looking perfect. Now after that we want to display a model with the rocket information after clicking on this view mode, and for that I will go to this model, and here we can see a demo. So we have this data toggle, data target, and then we have this model, right? So we can use this over here, and then we can create the model by using this one, and we can use that model after this class, after this div. So we can paste it over here, and now we can see we have lots of error, and the error is that JSX expression must have one parent element. So that is another difference of JSX. So that means here we should have one parent element, then we can have this element within that parent element. Right now we are having this model and this card element in same level, but we cannot have more than one element without any parent element. So we need to create a parent element first, then we can use it. Now we are starting to see some problem. We have multiple elements present over here, and it's getting very difficult to manage. So let me first create separate component for it. Now we are rendering card over here, so we can create card component over here. So I have created this components directory, and within this components directory I will create this card.js, and for this card component I will use this code. So I have cut all this code and I can paste it over here, and now I can export it. Now save it, and I can display card over here, and this will be self-closing tag, and we need to import card component within this components directory. Now if I save it, then we can see that it's failed to compile. And why is that? Because we are having this rocket over here which is not defined. In this component we are seeing that rocket is not defined, right? Rocket is defined in this component, in this app.js file. Here we have this rocket state, and from this rocket state we are getting each rocket data. So we need to pass this rocket data to our card component, and we can pass it by prop, and prop means this attribute or this property which we are passing to a component. So for rocket we will pass rocket, and this rocket is the prop which we are passing, and this rocket is this data which is containing all of the data of a particular rocket. Now save this one, and we can use this prop over here. So we will get prop, and then we can use this prop to get rocket information, and within this rocket information we will get all of the other informations which we were getting previously. Now save this one. Now we can see that it's rendering perfectly, and the error has been gone. So like this we have created our custom component, and here I am using functional component, but this is the ES6 way to define a component. I have created an arrow function by using this arrow which is containing this equal to and this angle bracket. So now after this card we want to display the model, which we can copy from here and then paste it here, and now we are having the error. And to get rid of this error we can wrap this thing within a div, and by using it we can see the error has been gone. But right now we can see the layout has been broken because we don't want to render any div over here, but in JSX we have to use some parent element over here. And to get rid of this problem we have another solution provided by React, which is fragment, and we need to import that fragment from React as well, like this, and we need to close this fragment over here. Now if we save it, then we can see that our layout is not broken. And if we inspect it, then we can see after this row we have this card element. So after this row we have card element, which is starting with this column class. In between this we don't have any HTML element. So by using it we can get rid of that JSX error, and we are not rendering any additional HTML element as well. So our layout is showing perfectly, right? Now after this card we are showing this model, and to display this model, by clicking on this button we need to link it by this ID. So from this data target we are targeting this ID, right? So we need to change this ID for each element. I will make unique ID for each element by providing this tick symbol. Within this tick symbol I will use a text, and after this text I will render JavaScript variable, and I will render rocket ID, which is unique as we have seen previously. So I want to call this ID from this data target as well, and here we have extra hash symbol. So let me provide this hash over here. Now save it, and then we have this error, rocket is not present. Yes, we need to provide prop.rocket. Now save it. Now let's see, click on this view mode. Now we can see our model is showing over here. Now we need to update this model to display our information, and let me quickly take this out from this app.js and create a new component called model.js, and here I am going to paste these codes, and I am going to export it. And similarly we need to import this model from model component, and we need to pass some prop over here. So I'm going to pass this rocket prop, and I'm going to use it over here. And here we can deconstruct prop by using this curly bracket, and here we can get this prop by the attribute name which we are passing as prop. So we can use this rocket over here. By using this we don't need to provide prop.rocket. We are getting prop as the attribute name which we have provided here. Now for model dialog I will use this model LG class, and we have to change this class to class name. And here for the model title we can use rocket name. So our rocket name is showing perfectly, right? Now within this model body I want to display an image slider, and then I want to display some rocket information. So for image slider I want to use this carousel, and let me quickly grab some code from this carousel, and I will use this controls one. So let me copy this and paste it over here. And for these images I have to use this slash. Now here also for the carousel control we have this ID by which it is controlling this previous and next image, right? So for it I'm going to use this code as I have used previously, and here we need to provide a hash extra with this one. And I'm doing all these things to make it unique for each item. And then for the image I'm going to use this flicker image. I'm going to use index 0 image first and then index 1 image. So I'm going to use 2 image only. And now let's check it. So it's working perfectly. Now after this carousel I want to display some information of the rocket. Let me copy paste those codes over here because there is nothing new, and I will just use some bootstrap classes with these rocket informations. So here I have pasted it. Here I have created a row class, and I have provided rocket info class name as well. Then I'm displaying height, and we are getting the height by rocket.height.feet. And if we see the responses, then we can see for each height, diameter, mass we are having different units. For height we have meter and feet, and we are displaying feet unit of it. For diameter we are using feet. For mass we are using kg. and for kilogram we are getting the kilogram information, and I'm dividing it with 1000 to convert it to ton. Then we are showing the first flight information, which is we are fetching from this response, and we are getting the active information as well. So we have first flight information, and then we have this active, and for this active we are checking with this ternary operator, and this one means if it is active, if the active is set to true, then we are displaying yes, otherwise we are displaying no. This is the ternary operator, and it works like if else. And for cost per launch we are getting by this value, and we are dividing that cost with this to get the value in million. Now save this one and check it over here. So we can see that we are getting all this information over here, and we have this learn more on Wikipedia link as well. So here we can see the description and Wikipedia link of that rocket, and we are showing that over here within this paragraph we are showing this rocket description, and for this button we are showing this Wikipedia link. And now I want to add some CSS as well. So now it's looking good. Now after this I want to this h1, and here we can see the h1 tag is present. We need to update it. We want to update the layout of this h1 tag, and for that we are going to use this font. So we need to add this font to our app. So I'm going to copy this link and use it over here, and then for h1 css I will use this one. Here I'm using this font family and font size and coloring as well. Now it's looking good. Now after this h1 tag I will see a drop down to filter our rockets. So here we are going to add a component to filter our rocket. So let me create that component over here, and it will be called filter.js. And for this div I will use filter wrapper, and it will be select, and the name of it will be height, and I will provide this class name, and for the option of it I will use these options. And now I'm going to use this component over here. So filter component, and don't forget to import it from the filter component. Now save it. Now after saving it we can see our select element is present over here. Now let me quickly copy paste some CSS stylings over here. Now save it. Now after saving it, it's showing perfectly. Right, now let's make it functional. So whenever we are going to change it, that time we are going to update our state, right? So let me create a function called handle change, and within this function we are going to handle the change of the selection, and for that we need to introduce another state, and it will be selected height, and by default I will provide 0. And for this handle change function we are going to listen to the event, and by this event we are going to update our state. So we are going to update this selected height. So selected height will be e dot target dot value, and this value will be value of this one, this select, which we are getting from this option values. Now we will pass this function as a prop to our filter. So here for on change we are going to pass this handle change. So for filter on change we are going to provide this handle change function. So this dot handle change, and we need to accept it over here, and by deconstructing we are going to get it like this, and we need to use this on change over here. And by this way we are updating our selected height, and now we need to update our rockets based upon our selection. And for that, here from the state we are going to get our states, and then we are going to get filtered rockets, and we are going to filter rockets based upon our criteria. So we are going to get rocket height by feet, and we are going to display rockets which is greater than our selected height. So we are getting the rocket height by this height dot feet, and we are getting the selected value by this selected height state, which we have updated by this handle change, right? And then we are going to use this filtered rockets over here instead of rockets to display list of rockets. So now save it, and after saving it, let's see it's showing all the rockets as previously. Now select this one. Okay, we are having some error. Okay, so for this error we need to use arrow function over here. As in this filter we are using arrow function, so we need to use arrow function for this function which we are passing to this component. Now save it. Now after saving it, let's select more than 100, so it's showing those rockets which are matching this criteria, right? And we are seeing the information as well. So our app is working perfectly now. So this is the tutorial, guys. I hope you have learned something new from this tutorial. If you do so, then hit the like button, subscribe to my channel for more tutorials like this, and let me know by commenting down below. If you have any kind of suggestion, or if you want me to make more tutorials on React, like React router, React hooks, all of these things, then also let me know in the comment section below. And on my channel you will find lots of useful React Native tutorials as well. So if you want to become a mobile app developer, then also you can watch all those tutorials in my channel. So I will see you guys in my next tutorial. In the meantime, have a great day. Goodbye.